Port Royal, South Carolina, has a deep colonial and early American history, founded by the French in 1562 on the deep water harbor of Port Royal Sound. The area later came under Spanish, English, and Scottish influence before being the site of a key Civil War naval battle and a significant post-war commercial boom, thanks to the Port Royal Railroad and its world-class cotton compressor. Early colonial period, 1562–1700s. French settlement, French explorers led by Jean Ribaut established the first European settlement in the area, Charlesfort, on Paris Island in 1562. Spanish and Scottish influence. After the French departed, the area was settled by Spanish and later by Scottish colonists in the 17th century. Strategic importance. The deep, natural harbor of Port Royal Sound made the area a valuable location, often a point of contention between European powers. Post-Civil War boom, late 1800s. Port Royal Railroad. The town experienced a significant boom after the Civil War when the Port Royal Railroad was built, connecting the area to Augusta, Georgia. Commercial hub. With deep water access, Port Royal became a major commercial center for cotton, phosphate, and lumber, featuring the world's largest cotton compressor at the time. Civil War era, 1861 to 1865. Naval battle. Port Royal was the site of one of the first amphibious operations of the American Civil War, with Union forces capturing the Sound in November 1861. Port Royal experiment. Following Union control, the area was part of the Port Royal experiment, which focused on helping formerly enslaved people establish new lives. Modern era. Incorporation. Port Royal was officially incorporated in 1874, solidifying its role as a town and commercial terminus. Continued legacy. Today, Port Royal is known for its connection to the seafood industry at its public shrimp dock and for blending its rich history with a focus on future growth and community amenities.
Historically, homes in Port Royal, South Carolina, primarily follow the Lowcountry style, which is adapted to the coastal climate and includes features such as raised foundations, wide verandas, low-pitched roofs, and a southern orientation for ventilation and heat reduction. While Port Royal has a mix of styles, its oldest homes embody this functional design, using local materials like the concrete-like tabby, made with oyster shells, for foundations. The style also incorporated features like transoms and shutters for airflow and light, with some porch ceilings painted paint blue to ward off spirits. Key elements of historic Port Royal and Lowcountry architecture. Raised foundations. Houses were built on high foundations, often tabby or brick, to allow for air circulation underneath and protect against flooding. Tabby construction. This unique local material, a blend of oyster shells, sand, lime, and ash, was commonly used for foundations and walls, giving an early form of concrete. Southern orientation. Homes were often positioned to face the Beaufort River, taking advantage of prevailing breezes for ventilation. Verandas, piazzas, and porticos. Wide, shaded porches or verandas wrapped around the house, providing living space and allowing cool air to flow in. Low-pitched roofs. Hip roofs were often used to prevent heat from being trapped inside the house. Transom windows and shutters. Transoms above doors and large, operable windows with wooden shutters, some painted paint blue, improved light and ventilation. T-shaped floor plans. These plans allowed for better cross-ventilation through the back of the house, further enhancing cooling. While Port Royal has expanded into modern housing developments, its historic center features these traditional Lowcountry styles, reflecting the architectural adaptations to the environment and culture of the South Carolina coast. The history of Port Royal, SC's racial makeup is tied to the enduring system of slavery and subsequent periods of segregation and racial tension, followed by a shift towards a diverse and integrated community in recent decades. Historically, enslaved Africans in South Carolina experienced systemic oppression and separation from the dominant white population until the end of the Civil War in 1865. Reconstruction brought political power to African Americans, but racial discrimination and disenfranchisement led to a return of white power by the late 1870s. The mid-20th century saw the height of segregation, which was dismantled by the Civil Rights Movement. Today, Port Royal and the broader Beaufort County region reflect a diverse racial landscape, with significant populations of both white and black residents, a trend evident in modern census data. Colonial era to the Civil War. Enslaved Africans were a critical part of the region's labor force, with the institution of slavery lasting until the end of the Civil War. The enslaved population grew to become the majority in many areas. Reconstruction and post-Reconstruction era. During the Reconstruction era, African Americans gained political power, but this was challenged as white Democrats regained control by the late 1870s. Laws were enacted to disenfranchise African Americans, who were denied voting rights. Segregation and the Civil Rights Movement. From the 1870s to the 1960s, African Americans and whites lived in segregated societies. People of color and whites were not permitted to attend the same schools or use the same public facilities. The Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s led to the dismantling of segregation laws and a path toward greater racial equality. Modern demographics. Today's racial makeup of Port Royal is diverse, with a significant population of both white and black residents. According to the 2020 census, Port Royal's racial makeup was 64.18% white, 29.16% African American, 1.7% Asian, 0.46% Native American, 0.1% Pacific Islander, 1.92% from other races, and 2.48% from two or more races.
After the Union victory in the Civil War, it became the site of the Port Royal Experiment, a pioneering Reconstruction effort to transition former slaves to freedom. The town later flourished as a railroad and shipping hub, but declined after a hurricane and the rise of trucking. Today, it is a town focused on waterfront revitalization and blending its rich past with a progressive future. Black mayors have led the town of Port Royal for at least 25 years. This period is based on the terms of Henry Robinson and his successor, Sam Murray. Henry Robinson, he was the town's first black mayor, serving for 18 years, from 1977 until 1995. Sam Murray, he became the second black mayor in 1995 and served until his death in November 2022. Residents of Port Royal, South Carolina, generally feel that it is a beautiful, peaceful, and community-oriented coastal town with a strong connection to nature and a small-town feel. They appreciate the area's walkability, safety, and welcoming atmosphere. Port Royal is renowned for its family-friendly atmosphere, offering excellent amenities such as walking trails, a stunning beach, and picturesque boardwalks. Port Royal, South Carolina, is a story of environmental transformation, turning a series of urban stormwater ponds into a thriving nature preserve. The project proved highly successful, with the newly restored rookery becoming a thriving nesting site for wading birds, including egrets, herons, and ibis. Today, the Cypress Wetlands serves as both a vital stormwater filtration system for the town and a premier birding destination. Visitors can observe a diverse range of wildlife, including nesting birds and alligators, from the network of trails and boardwalks.